No, that's actually just
That's
me.
just...
Oh.
Yeah.
So let me know when I press record.
Okay,
Go.
record.
Hi, good morning. Welcome back to Fit Spartans Podcast. Is that the name? Yes, that's the name we went with. Hi, I'm Andres.
Hashtag Fit Spartans.
Hashtag Fit Spartans. I'm still getting used to the name.
This is my presentation from yesterday, but there's some content in here that I'm going to use for today.
Okay. I'm going to go around the table and let everyone introduce themselves again.
I'm Sarah. I'm the assistant director, and I cover fitness and wellness in the campus recreation center. Now I don't know where to look because we're video recording this one too, so I don't know if I should look over here. My background's in exercise science. I'm also personally very interested in psychology and mental health and just holistic wellness. So hopefully I'll bring some of that to the table.
I'm Dels, back again, unfortunately, I know. I'm a senior here at USC Upstate. I'm exercise science major with the aspirations of becoming a PT. Also, I would agree with Sarah in that I'm interested in holistic wellness generally, which is the topic of this podcast more or less. So yeah, hopefully I can bring some insight to this.
Oh, and just a little background on myself. I am a Zumba instructor on campus / group fitness instructor. I'm deeply interested in improving my health, even though it's just step by step. I have lots of questions and they have lots of answers. So
We have lots of questions for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll jump right into it.
Okay, so today we're talking about 30-day challenges to start.
Yes.
I like to call them the Pinterest promise because when I think of a 30-day challenge, I usually think of Pinterest and these pictures where we see a stunning looking woman and some plank challenge or squat challenge. So especially the uninformed person might look at that and think, okay, if I do one squat on day 1 and 500 squats on day 30, I will achieve that look. So that's what comes to mind for me. And that's just not realistic.
It's not.
Are you doing 30-day squat challenges nowadays?
I can't do more than 5 days.
More than
Okay, so there's that problem too. We have the problem of what do you call it? Yeah, consistency.
yeah.
With that challenge. But have you really tried any 30-day challenges?
I think I tried the New Year's Day. It was like New Year, New You.
Mm-hmm.
Like drink only water for a month.
Only water, don't.
No
Oh, you mean
coffee.
like don't drink anything
Oh
else?
yeah.
Just
Water
have
only
water.
diet.
30-day
Turned
water
into a
fast.
fish.
Okay.
So I did the water part, and then it was like get 4 days in which you have 45 minutes of intense cardio. And
See, to interject, I think if you are coming from a completely deconditioned state, as in you haven't done cardio recently, 4 days of intense cardio for 45 minutes is way too much. Way
Not
too
to mention, a person who was previously sedentary probably wouldn't be able to act, or it would take very little to get them to that high
Yeah,
intensity state,
exactly.
or they wouldn't feel comfortable enough to even get
Yeah.
to that high intensity.
Yeah.
yeah, Stairmaster, 15 minutes. I had to stop.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I've done Stairmaster, almost think I was going to have a heart attack, so
I get dizzy because I have to look at my feet so I don't trip.
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, okay, so for me in those situations, I think that it gives the general population a false idea of what it actually takes to look a certain way. And I do think it focuses a little bit too much on the aesthetic side of working out, which is fine. Like if you want to start working out because you want to look a certain way, great, fine, that's wonderful. But I think at a certain point, in order to keep you consistent, that has to your mentality has to shift a little bit so that you're doing it for more intrinsic enjoyment reasons or health reasons, or something else needs to motivate you besides what you see in the mirror, because that process is so slow and tedious. You're just going to be disappointed if you only focus on the physical.
Yeah, it doesn't provide a lot of reward very readily. So like you won't notice week to week your changes in your body. You'll notice it month to month, which I think that's the problem with these 30-day challenges, is that it's honing in on like a temporal constraint, saying that 30 days is all it takes. When that's not even close to true. 30 days is all it will take to have some sort of change, sure, but not to get to the extent of what they're portraying it as. Like, you're not going to be ripped in 30 days. It's not possible. It's just not. And I think that's the fad being sold, is that you can do it in this really short time period, when that's just not possible. So yeah, you can start, like she said, like Sarah said, you can start doing it because you want to look a certain way, but you can't. That's unsustainable as far as like a reward system goes in the short term, because that's a long-term goal. That's a really long-term goal. So, I mean, like for me personally, to throw an anecdote in here, I was pretty overweight when I was younger. Like I'm 225 as of today, and I'm 6'1". I was like 5'8" and 250, so shorter and heavier than I am now, and had not worked out at all. So I was very overweight. And the process of getting from there to a point of where I wanted my body to be was realistically probably 7 to 8 years, to where I got to a point of I am okay with how I look. And that's not a very flattering thing to say, because it's like, if you tell someone it's going to take you 8 years to reach your goal, they're going to be like, nope, not doing that. I'll figure something else out. But that's the secret, is that there is no secret. There is no shortcut. And if someone says they have it, they're lying. And I think that's kind of what these 30-day challenges are promulgating, is that sort of thought process. So.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about the flip side then, because you brought up something interesting about the potential positive of a 30-day challenge. Why don't you talk about that?
So, insofar as like
it takes like, it's a good amount of time to like try something.
Yeah. So I think 30 days is a really good sample size period of time to determine if something is a thing you would like to do consistently. So like, if you want to eat a certain way, you shouldn't try it for a day or 2 days or a week. You should try it for a month, because then you have time for your body to quote unquote adjust to it, so you can actually see something happening from it. Same with anything else, with like cardio, same thing with lifting weights, same thing. You will see some sort of result. It may not be indicative of what you think it is as far as where you're going. Like, example being, you may get stronger in a month from lifting weights, but it's not because you gained muscle. So that's just neurological changes that are happening, but you're not going to see those unless you do it for a couple weeks, a month, whatever. So I think they're good for that initial spark, where if that 30 days gives you that initial spark, like I said, then that can help you pursue it longer than 30 days. So I think that's a positive element of them, but I don't think that's what most people are using them for.
Yeah, it's usually some sort of fad thing. But so you're saying if there's like a lifestyle change you want to try out, give it a go.
Yeah, I think 30 days is...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's more of like a 30-day challenge. You're challenging yourself rather than somebody else saying, like, here's this thing and here's this outcome you can expect.
Yeah. Which I think even if that is the case, if someone is like, oh, I did this 30-day challenge and I look like this, which is a lie, but if you do it and you, from that, you learn like, oh, this is something I want to keep doing, then that's good. Then it turned out to be a positive. But I don't think that is the majority of cases.
What do you think, both of you, what do you think a person should do if they're doing that? So let's say they're practicing, I don't know, meditation before bed for 30 days. And they miss a few days because they like had a project or something came up, what do you think the best course of action would be to take when ultimately you fall through on your commitment?
Speaking from experiences, plural.
I thought we might get a good discussion from that question, so.
So for me, my life is hectic. Schedule always changes, so it's really difficult for me to be like, okay, these are the things I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because next Monday is completely different. Next Wednesday is completely different. Next Friday, completely different from this. But the way I've learned to cope / supplement that is that I just shift it to not a new day, but like I start pushing it till like tomorrow, but with the deadline of like Sunday. So say Monday through Sunday, I intended on getting 1 hour in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so a total of 3 hours. Monday
for
morning,
like exercise?
Yeah, for exercise.
Okay.
Monday, I missed. I like woke up late. Wednesday, I had a really important essay I had to finish. There was no compromise. And then Friday, I turned out to have the whole day free. So in the morning of Friday, I'll go for a jog. Lunchtime, one of my friends often works out, joined him. And then Friday night, went home, but like my brother works out at night, so I joined him. So I got my 3 hours of exercise in. but like that's just because Friday turned out to be my free day.
Yeah.
And like even though just like having that mentality of like, oh, you can just compile it all at the end is not sustainable. It does help me put me back on track of like I need to have like.
So how do you feel after you do that on Friday?
After on Friday, I'm just like, okay, I'm back on track. We can try again next week.
How about physically?
Oh, physically, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Dead.
So, I think that's a good framework. I think saying I have this range of days to do this allotted amount of stuff, I think that's a really good mentality and a good way to look at it. I do, however, think that if you miss enough days to where you are relegated to doing it all on the last day, I don't think that behooves you because of, like you said, you're like exhausted afterwards.
Yeah.
So like if you're a super high level elite Olympic athlete, then you can train 3 times a day. Like that's fine. You're at that point. But if you aren't that, if you're short of that, which most everyone is, then you are
burning yourself out.
Yeah, you're stymieing your progress for the next week because you are in alert phase of how your body's responding to that is you are in a compromised state. So that's going to hamper you for the next week. So then your intensity for the next week isn't going to be as capable as the previous week. So I think those are good intentions to have, but I think at the end of the day, if you can't get in your 3 hours, then just get in one really solid hour. Is that I think the intensity, if it's high, even for a shorter period of time, I think that's more valuable than to just get in all of the time that you need, but it be lacking in effort, or it just ruins you for the next week.
Yeah, so you don't want to phone it in. I mean, I think what you're saying for you is like that works for you mentally, but it might not be the most optimal thing physically.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to exercise is the stimulus. Exercise is the stress to your body, and then what happens afterwards is when you actually get better. That's when you make the positive changes. So if you just have this like one stimulus, then okay, you're exhausted, and then you'll I mean, it's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah.
Certainly. But it would be obviously much better to have that stimulus 3 times per week and that recovery time in the middle, so that you're constantly getting better and improving. But I mean, that's better, certainly better than nothing.
I think you even said it. I think with any sort of lifestyle change, you want to focus on sustainability. That's the most important thing, because consistency is when you're seeing your results. You never then that's back to the 30-day challenge. How consistent can you be even if you do it for 30 days straight? like that's still only 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the broad scheme of things, like people that work out for years and years and years, like that's months and months and months and months. That's so many 30-day periods. So if you're crushing it for a month and then don't do anything for a year, and someone is on and off, but consistently on and off, like they're doing it in a regimented way for a year, they're doing way more than a month. So
yeah, you got to think about lifelong instead of the short term.
I think that's the key, is you have to look at it from, even if that seems very drastic, very sharp, to look at it and how can I implement this into my life. That's how you have to think about it, because that's where you're seeing the changes, is when you implement it into your life and you make it a consistent part of your schedule.
So we talked about what not to do, which, Andres, hopefully you can be more consistent throughout the week instead of trying to like cram. I would say even if you don't, so say you got that essay or whatever, instead of trying to get that hour in, try and get 15 minutes in, try and get 20 minutes in. You probably waste 20 minutes.
This is very, very true.
You and all of us probably waste like 20 minutes a day.
At least more.
So instead of wasting it, just don't.
Just don't.
And that would probably even be better than like the 3 hours on Friday. But okay, so let's talk about what people should do when they screw up, when they have the cupcake, when they skip their workout, whatever it is.
So I think this was like probably the most impactful quote I ever heard. It was from Victor Costa. He's like a bodybuilder guy. But what he said, and this stuck with me forever, is that things affect you by the amount of times you do them. So days on versus days off. So if you have like a solid month of good eating, and even if you have a cheat day in there every now and then, like a normal scheduled cheat day, and then one day you just binge, if you're not binging more than you're not binging, so if you're eating really consistently for a really long period of time and you have a binge day, like it's bad. Granted, you should notice that.
Health-wise.
Yeah. But you shouldn't harp on it. You shouldn't ruminate on that, because when you start to get down on yourself for making a mistake, you just lead to more mistakes, because it's like, oh, well, I suck, like I messed up, might as well keep messing up.
Don't self-sabotage.
Exactly.
Because you made, and I wouldn't even necessarily call it it's not a setback unless you let it be a setback.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, long term, you're gonna eat
it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, you're gonna eat some unhealthy food, which is fine. It's part of enjoying life. Yeah. And like connecting with people and whatever, which we talked about, you and I. But don't let it derail your ultimate goals. And if possible, before the thing that could be seen as a setback happens, if you can build in some sort of pause, whether that's
some sort of fail-safe.
Yeah, like whether that is calling a friend or going for a walk, or doing something to build in a break, so that you can actually take the time to sort of step back and think, is what I'm about to do in line with my goals? Is this going to bring me closer to my goals, or is this going to bring me farther away from my goals? That's something that I really struggle with, because I'll just like
I think
go into it.
I think that's the key there, is that if you really take that one moment to stop and reflect, you'll never do it. You'll never do the thing that you know you're not supposed to do. But if you're really impulsive about it and you just go and don't think about it, then you'll do it every time.
So here's a story. So my boyfriend Vance goes to Lowe's to grocery shop. And if you go to Lowe's, you have to basically walk through the baked goods to get to like the meat and the stuff that you need, eggs and whatever. And every time he's super tempted to buy one of their huge muffins with like the little sugar crunchies on top, but he makes himself look at the nutrition information before he actually buys it.
And you're like, ooh.
And it's like, it's like 1,000 calories and
Jesus.
I don't even remember how many grams of sugar and fat, but he has never actually bought it because he makes himself look at that every single time.
And I think that also elucidates a point in that if you hide something from yourself, if you make it wrong and illegal, you're going to do it. That's just what humans do. If you make something illegal, people do it because for the sole fact that it's illegal.
Sure. Ask yourself, would I be proud to tell people that I just did this thing?
Yeah.
If not,
maybe don't do it.
Maybe don't do it.
Yeah. There is something to say for like experiencing things. So if it's a one-off, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what it should be, is a one-off. And even if you can abstain from a one-off, then that's optimal. That's the best situation. But I understand. Again, people do things because they shouldn't do them. But if you think about them, then typically you won't.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing. It's just you need to, like she said, you need to build in that pause for yourself to be able to recognize and I think also an important thing that may seem obvious to us is that all of that is predicated upon a goal. So you need to have a goal before you start anything. Because if you don't have a set in stone goal, then you'd be like, oh, well, I can eat this muffin because it's within my very vague, not established goal. So you need to be like, I need to do this specifically, the SMART goal.
Right. And if you don't know how, you need to get help, like increase your resources available to you, whether that's through research or talking to experts or whatever. Obviously, for the students at Upstate, I'm available to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think one last point is that towards your goals, you always will get more the more effort you put in. Even if it doesn't seem like that, ultimately the more effort you put in will lead you to your goals more often.
Should we talk about suffering?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
let's talk about the
growling
human
at
condition. Yeah.
Like when I can't sleep because I'm hungry, but I want to go to the fridge and be like, I can make
All of
cereal.
Yeah, that's a branch off of, yes.
There's lots of different kinds.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, so I guess that's the question. What do you think about suffering? Because we've had this conversation before, me and Sarah have. So what do you think about suffering in general?
I feel that.
And to be clear, for the people, we're not talking about like people starving.
Yeah, not like.
We're talking about your basic needs are taken care of, like the roof over your head. You have the ability to like buy food and stuff.
Yeah, so Maslow, our lower tiers are met. We're up at the higher tiers, the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, so you're not worried about your safety on a daily basis.
Yeah,
you have food, you have shelter, and so suffering other than that stuff.
Oh, did you mean like suffering as a consequence of like trying to change lifestyle, or suffering
Like anything like that? Yeah, anything like that.
Oh, I feel that like for physical suffering, like after like doing like a dramatic change, I remember like looking at the salad with disgust and like with contempt. How can you be so flavorless yet so expensive?
Oh man, that's funny.
So like, I would look at it and be like, I could be eating a steak right now for the amount I paid for this salad, and I'd be happier short term.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have to remind myself.
Yeah.
I'd be happier short term. Like that. Like I'll be happy for like 5 minutes, but then in the next 5 years, like that's gonna negatively impact me. Suffering emotionally, I would say it's good to have friends. Like go make friends. One of the things, I'm friends with lots of depressed people.
A lot of people are depressed.
Like a lot of people are depressed, and like
really.
not even like jokingly depressed. I mean like clinically,
Yeah.
clinically depressed. And one of the things they tell me most is